Let me tell you something that took me a long time to understand. Certain things in life look like terrible financial decisions, but they are the exact reason some people get rich. And what's interesting is this. If you ask a poor person and a rich person about these things, they will give you completely opposite opinions. One will say, that's a waste of money. The other will say, that's the best investment I ever made. One person thinks paying $1,000 for a course is stupid. Another person thinks not paying for it is expensive. One person tries to save $20 on a cheaper tool. The other person buys the better tool because it saves 10 hours a week. Same money, different thinking, different future. And here's the strange part. Some of the safest financial decisions are the reason people stay poor. And some of the riskiest financial decisions are the reason people get rich. So the question is, how can the same purchase make one person poorer and another person richer? Because the difference between people who build wealth and people who stay broke is not just how much they earn, it's how they think about spending. There are two ways to use money. 1. Spend money to reduce discomfort today. 2. Spend money to increase opportunity tomorrow. Poor people mostly do the first. Rich people mostly do the second. And that single shift changes everything. So let's talk about it. Welcome back to the Financial Freedom Insider, where we break down money, strip away the noise, and give you frameworks that actually help you build wealth. No hype, no shortcuts, just clear thinking in a world full of bad advice. If you care about financial freedom more than looking rich, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's get into it. The mindset problem. Most people are trained to think about money the same way. Save aggressively, avoid spending, cut costs everywhere. And on the surface, that sounds responsible. But there's a problem. If your entire strategy revolves around saving small amounts, you're playing defense, and wealth is rarely built by playing defense. According to data from the U.S. Federal Reserve, the median American savings account balance is only a few $1,000s, not nearly enough to create financial independence. You cannot save your way to wealth on an average income. You have to invest, earn more, or own assets. This is where a lot of people get stuck. They become very good at saving money, but never become good at making money, investing money, or using money. And those are completely different skills. Here's a simple framework that explains almost everything about money. Poor people spend money to reduce discomfort. Rich people spend money to increase capability. Poor people ask, how much does it cost? Rich people ask, what does it return? And once you understand that, you start seeing money very differently. Because some expenses don't reduce wealth, they build it. Number 1, education that builds high-income skills. There's a quote from Warren Buffett that says, the best investment you can make is in yourself. But let's be more specific, not just education that increases your income. Because there are two types of education. 1. Education that makes you knowledgeable. 2. Education that makes you valuable. The market does not pay you for how much you know. The market pays you for how useful you are. According to research from Georgetown University, people with high-income skills in fields like technology, sales, finance, and engineering can earn 2 to 3 times more over their lifetime than people without specialized skills. High-income skills are things like sales, marketing, copywriting, coding, trading, negotiation, video editing, AI and automation, public speaking. These are skills that can increase your income very fast. But here's the interesting part. People will spend $1,000 on a phone, but won't spend $500 on a course that can increase their income for the next 10 years. That's not because they're broke, that's because they don't see skills as investments. A guy learns video editing for $400, starts freelancing. First month, $200. Third month, $800. Sixth month, $1,500 per month. 2 years later, he starts a small agency. That $400 didn't disappear. It turned into an income stream. That's not an expense, that's an asset. Poor mindset says, how much does this cost? Wealth mindset says, how much can this make me over time? That's a completely different question, but here's where things get interesting. Because sometimes, it's not just what you know that changes your income, it's where you are. Number 2, moving to a more expensive city. This sounds like bad financial advice, but sometimes expensive cities are income accelerators. Research from the National Bureau of Economic Research shows that workers who move to high-productivity cities can see lifetime earnings increase by 30 to 50%, even after adjusting for higher living costs. It can be one of the fastest ways to increase your income. Cities like New York City, San Francisco, London, are expensive for a reason. They have more companies, more industries, more opportunities, more ambitious people, higher salaries, more networking opportunities. Your income is heavily influenced by your environment. A young finance graduate who stays in a small town earning £28,000 a year. Another moves to London, struggles for 2 years, shares an apartment, works long hours, but gets into the finance industry. 5 years later, one is earning £35,000. The other is earning £90,000 plus with bonuses. Same degree, same intelligence. Different environment. Environment is an income multiplier. But moving to a big city only works if you do one thing right, otherwise you'll just be broke in an expensive place. Number 3. Networking. There's a concept explained by Malcolm Gladwell in Outliers. Success is not just talent, it's opportunity and exposure. And opportunities come from people. Most high-paying jobs, business deals, and opportunities don't come from online applications. They come from conversations, events, introductions, recommendations. Naval Ravikant explains, "Your network is not your net worth. Your reputation within the network is your net worth." One introduction can change a career. A single connection can lead to a partnership, a promotion, an investment, or a company acquisition. Your network affects how much you earn, what opportunities you see, what businesses you start, what investments you hear about. Someone goes to an event and meets a startup founder. 6 months later, that founder hires them. 2 years later, they get stock options. 5 years later, the company gets acquired. One conversation changed their financial life. Networking is not fake, it's leverage. Sometimes one conversation with the right person can save you years of mistakes, which leads to the next thing people think is a waste of money. Number 4. Books, courses, mentorship, coaching. This might sound simple, but it's powerful. Wealthy individuals read far more than average. For example, billionaire investor Warren Buffett reportedly spends around 80% of his day reading. Books compress decades of experience into a few hours. A $20 book can contain insights worth millions. But most people dismiss books as nice ideas or theoretical. Yet the people who write those books often built the businesses that shaped the economy. And for paid learning, people might ask, why would you pay for something you can learn for free? Fair question, but here's the problem. Free information is abundant. Structured transformation is not. Warren Buffett famously said, "The best investment you can make is in yourself." But most people misinterpret that. They think it means reading random articles, watching free videos, collecting information. That's not investing, that's consuming. Real investment in knowledge speeds up learning, removes trial and error, compresses years into months. 2 people want to learn investing. One spends 2 years figuring it out alone. The other pays $1,000 for structured education and mentorship. Fast forward 5 years. One finally understands the game. The other has already been compounding. And when you combine skills, environment, network, and mentorship, something interesting happens. You start seeing opportunities most people never see. And that's when people usually do something that everyone around them thinks is crazy. They start a business. Number 5. Starting a business. Most people think starting a business is risky, but relying on one income source is also risky. A job pays you for your time. A business pays you for value and systems. According to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, business ownership is one of the largest sources of wealth for high net worth households. Businesses build wealth because they give you ownership, scalability, tax advantages, assets you can sell. A job can make you a living. A business can make you wealthy. Imagine 2 accountants. One earns $120,000. The other buys equity in a small accounting firm. 10 years later, one still earns salary. The other owns a company worth millions. As investor Peter Thiel wrote in 0 to 1, great companies are built on secrets. And sometimes the biggest secret is this: ownership changes everything. But even after people start making more money, most people still don't become rich. Because of one mistake, they start late. Number 6. Investing early. This is where wealth is actually built. Not earned. Built. Because of compound interest. According to research from Vanguard Group, consistent long-term investing significantly outperforms frequent trading. Compounding requires time. 2 investors. One starts investing at 25, another starts at 35. Same contributions, same returns. The earlier investor often ends up with hundreds of thousands more. Because time is the most powerful multiplier in finance. The earlier you invest, the less money you actually need to invest. Time does most of the work. Waiting to invest because you don't have enough money is like saying, "I'll start going to the gym when I'm already in shape." It makes no sense. But there's something that can destroy everything we just talked about if you ignore it. And it's the one thing people try to save money on the most: their health. Number 7. Health. This one is simple. If you are always tired, always stressed, always sick, always distracted, you will never perform at a high level long enough to build wealth. Poor health destroys wealth faster than almost anything. According to the World Health Organization, chronic illness dramatically reduces lifetime productivity and earning potential. Energy matters, focus matters, longevity matters. The ability to work and think at a high level for decades is one of the most underrated financial advantages. Health is not an expense. It's an income multiplier. Energy leads to productivity, which leads to income, which in turn leads to investment, which then leads to wealth. Break health, and the whole chain breaks. Now the next two are interesting because they completely change how you see spending money. Number 8, buying quality over cheap. Cheap feels good until you pay twice, or 3 times, or 5. There's a concept called the boots theory by Terry Pratchett. A poor man buys cheap boots that wear out quickly. A wealthy man buys expensive boots that last years. Over time, the poor man spends more. Same with tools, clothes, equipment, software. Spending money on quality, it reduces replacement costs, stress, inefficiency. Cheap is not always affordable, and expensive is not always wasteful. But there's another hidden benefit. Quality saves time, and time is the most valuable asset of all, which leads to the last point. Number 9, paying for speed. This is something almost everyone has judged at some point. Paying for convenience. Food delivery, faster shipping, premium tools, express services. Why would you pay extra for that? Because time compounds faster than money. Here's the shift. Poor mindset. Save money by spending time. Wealth mindset. Use money to save time, then reinvest that time. According to a study published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, people who spend money to save time report higher life satisfaction and lower stress levels. But more importantly, they create more capacity. 2 freelancers earning $50 per hour. One spends 2 hours cooking, cleaning, running errands daily. The other outsources those tasks for $40. At the end of the week, one saved money. The other gained 10 to 15 extra productive hours, which they used to earn more. Same income, different leverage. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you're always trying to save money, you'll eventually run out of time. And time is the only asset you can't earn back. Notice something interesting. Every single one of these wasteful expenses does one of 5 things. It either increases your income, increases your opportunities, increases your time, increases your decision quality, or increases your ownership. That's why they build wealth. I call this the leverage spending framework. If an expense increases your income, time, opportunities, ownership, or decision quality, it's probably not an expense. It's an investment. Recap. Poor people try to spend less money. Rich people try to spend money on the right things. Skills, environment, network, knowledge, business, investing, health, quality, speed. One group spends to look rich, the other spends to become rich. Here's a simple challenge. Look at your last 90 days of spending. How much did you spend on entertainment, clothes, eating out, gadgets? And how much did you spend on skills, books, courses, networking, investing, health? That difference is quietly shaping your financial future. And here's the scary part. Even if you understand everything we talked about today, you can still stay broke. Not because you don't work hard, not because you don't earn enough, but because there are a few money rules that almost everyone grows up believing that are completely wrong. And if you follow them, they keep you working hard, but never really getting ahead. We're going to talk about those in the next video. And honestly, I wish someone had explained those rules to me much earlier. If you made it this far, comment below. Which of these did you always think was a waste of money, but now you see differently? I read the comments and I reply to the top ones. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications because the next video might save you years of financial mistakes.